Okay, so in this episode, we are going to look at how to, first of all, insert a table. So to insert tables, you move your cursor to the Insert tab. You click on the Insert tab. So under the Insert tab, we have the cover page, we have the tables, we have illustrations and others. But the first thing that we'll look at is how to insert a table before we come back to the cover page thing. So here, let me just double click here, hit enter, so we come to the next page. We need a fresh page for this exercise. So here, so my cursor is on page 2, right? Now, I want to insert a table. So to insert the table, I'll have my cursor here. Then I'll come to the tables group. This is the tables group that I have my table ribbon here. So I'll click on a drop down, and then these are predefined cells available here for creating a table, right? But what if I want to enter my own specific number of columns and rows, because a table is made up of columns and rows. So I will come to my insert table, I'll click on it like this. Then I have number of columns, and then I have number of rows. So the number of columns, let's say I want 3 columns, and then the number of rows I want 6, right? So we will click on OK. So once we click on OK, we will see the table here. So these are 3 columns. So the columns are the vertical ones. So 1, 2, 3, and then the rows are horizontal ones, which are the 6. Now, whenever you insert a new object in Microsoft Word, a new tab will be added. So the new tab that is added here is the table tools. So we have under the table tools, you can see design, and then we have the layout. So by default, it will take you to the design tab under the table tools. Now you will have access to this table tools tab when your cursor is inside any of the cells. When we say cell, a cell is the intersection of a column and then a row, right? So if your cursor is within any of the cells, then it means you will have access to the table tools. But if it is outside the table, you will not have access to the table tools tab. So you can see that when I click outside, the table tools is nowhere to be found. So when I click within the table here, right, when I click within the table, quickly I will have access to my table tools tab. So this is my table tools. Under the table tools, we have design, and then we have the layouts. Now, first of all, whenever you insert a new table, you could see an addition sign at the far top here. Now, this addition sign is purposely for selecting the entire table. So when we click on it to select, it will highlight all the cells in the table, right? When you try to drag it around, right, we press and hold, and then you try to move it around, it simply means you are dragging the table, you are positioning it elsewhere, right? You want to move the entire table. So you could see I'm moving the entire table around, something like this. Now, once this is done, the next thing that I want to do is to expand the table. So if you want to expand the table, then you could see down here that there is a small box provided here. Now the small box provided here, this is for expanding your table. That is the height of the table. So you can expand the height or the width of the table. When we say the width, then we are talking about the side and side, right? But when we say the width and the height of the table, then we are talking about top and then down. So if I should drag this down, you could see it will be increasing the height of the table like that. But if I want to expand the width, I'll move it to the right side, and then it will be expanding, right? So that is how we expand the table. Now, the next thing is you could see all these cells here. We can shade them. Now, there is a difference between shading, font color, and then text highlights. shading is purposely, we apply it mostly for a portion, mostly within a cell, right? So within all these cells that we are seeing, so when I click, let's say my cell is, my cursor is in this current cell here. Under the design tab, you could see shading, the ribbon called shading. When I click on the drop down and then apply or choose any of the available colors here, you could see quickly it will change, right? When I click on the next cell, click on the drop down for the shading and then choose any color here, you could see it has changed. The next one, if I click here, click on the drop down here and then choose any of the colors to here, it will change it. This is how we apply shading to the cells. Then we have what we call the table styles. So there is a group that we call table styles, which is under the table tools tab. So the table style is basically to affect the appearance of the entire table. So this is the default one that we are using. But what if you want to change the appearance to suit you, or like with the work that you're doing, you want to change the appearance of the entire table? You can quickly click on this drop down here and then it will show you a whole list of designs or styles available here. So even when you point your cursor on any of them, you will start seeing the effects on the table that you've chosen, right, or the table that you've inserted. So when you point your cursor on any of them, you will see the effect on the background. If what you are doing requires that you need to use a specific kind of design, you can go ahead and choose it. But for ours, we are still maintaining the default one, so we are not going to make any changes. So let's come back here, and then we have what we call the border styles, right? The border styles over here, you could see border styles here. Now with the border styles, you can change the thickness, right? The thickness of your lines available there. So let's say I want to, you could see all these lines here, they are thin lines, but I want to deepen, or I want to make it a little thick, right? So here, first of all, we have the points, which is for the border points here. It is half, that's 1/2. That's very small. So if I want to change it, let's click on this drop down and then you can see the thickness level available here. So let's choose the 1/4, that is the 1/4. So click on this one. Now immediately I choose, you could see the cursor will change to this brush. You can equally change the pen color. By default is always black. So if I click on this drop down here, right, and then the color that I wish to apply to my border lines, I will just click to select. So let's say this yellow here, I'll click to choose. Then I come to the area where I want to apply. So right on the line, I will just click and then you see the effect on it. Click again, the next line, you could see the effect. Click again, you could see the effects. Click again, here I'll click to, then the last one I will just click like that, right? If I want to deactivate, then I need to move my cursor to an empty space. So let's say the empty cell, then I will just double click to get rid of the format painter, right? That is the brush. So that's how we do it. So you double click on an empty space outside the table and then it will deactivate it. Now the next one that we want to look at is how to add up more columns and then more rows. Now if you want to do that, then you need to click on the layout tab under the table tools. So when you click on the layout tab, depending on the position of the cursor, let me click here. So my cursor is here inside the last cell. Then I will come to the group that we call rows and columns, right? So under the rows and columns, you could see insert above, insert below, insert left, insert right. The insert above and then the insert below, they are purposely for rows. When we say insert above, it means you are inserting a row on top of your current cell. When we say insert below, that means you are inserting below the current cell. So let's click insert above. You could see a new row will be added here, right? Well, let's click insert below. A new row will be added right below here, right? Now let's look at insert left or maybe right. So when I click insert left, that means it should add up a new column. So you could see another column has been added here, right? Another way too is that if you want to add up, mostly when you point your cursor around the line, that is the borders here, let's say somewhere here, the edges, you could see a blue line with an addition sign drawn over there. That one too is for inserting a new row. So when I click, it will add up a new row for me. The same applies to the columns. When you move your cursor on the edge here, when you click, in between that line, it will draw or insert a new column, right? The next thing is, how do we delete columns or rows? So over here, I want to delete the entire column that I have here. I will just click here to select the cell. Then I'll come still under the rows and columns group. There is another ribbon that we call delete. I'll click on the drop down, and then you could see delete columns. So I'll click on the delete columns, and then one is gone. The next one, I'll click again, come to delete columns, click again, it's gone, and then I have my table appearing like this. Let's try to expand. So let me bring my cursor here again, then I'll drag to the right side a little for expansion. Good. Then the next one is, I want to delete the rows. So here, this is I've selected the last row, so I will just move my cursor to the delete ribbon again. This is still under the layout tab under the table tools. So you click on the drop down, then you see delete rows, you click, and then it will move the current row. Again, let me click here, click on delete, then I'll click on delete rows, and then it's gone, right? So this is on how to insert a table, how to shade, and then how to insert new columns, rows, and then how to apply border lines. Thank you. In our next episode, we'll look at how to draw, how to erase, how to merge, and then how to align, how to check the text direction, and others. Thank you.